But Gundogan is also linked, interestingly, to a move to Arsenal. Ornstein has said Arsenal are trying hard to sign him. A few more reports have come out today saying that it's a serious link. Arsenal really want this guy to come in. Like, Gav, how happy would you be if Arsenal were able to pull off this player? You know, for the fact that and Ornstein very rarely reports on things that don't have a good chance of completing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they normally have legs, don't they?
They normally have some sort of legs here. So how do you see this one sort of panning out?
I would love him. You know, I love everything German and German football anyway, don't I? So, I would be, I'll be a massive fan of him coming to Arsenal. He would be an improvement to what we do. And what did I just say to Numbers a second ago? Leadership. Like if City re-sign him, it's another leader that they've got in their ranks. We don't have enough leaders on the pitch. I feel like players that we've got are sort of like leaders by example. Like Odegaard, I think he's a leader by example of what he does, but he's not a captain as far as I'm concerned. If you look at what like pre-match, who's doing the rallying calls? It's Zinchenko, it's Xhaka. It's almost like they're just going along with what Odegaard has to say. It's like, you just do your thing and then we'll just do our own thing. Someone like Gundogan, who's already a proven winner, you know, why would you not want someone like that in your ranks? Any Arsenal fan that turns around and says we don't want him, I think a little bit deluded. A little bit like with the whole Jorginho thing as well. Another leader who's come into Arsenal and has. I can only think of one game where he's had a bad game for Arsenal, really, and that was at the weekend. Everything else he's done is been great for Arsenal. I feel
Is that going to be for free? Is that going to be for free, or you have to pay money for him?
I don't know when his contract runs out.
It does run out this year.
So we'd have to pay him.
Would it be what? Is 32 going on 33?
33 in October.
33 in October.
He's still got 2 or 3 years at the highest level. That must not happen.
For Arsenal, that'd be a fantastic move. Like absolutely fantastic.
But he cannot be the main signing. That's my word.
No way. No. I wouldn't want that.
I wouldn't want that. In on a free and be the main. They still need the likes of Rice, Caicedo being signed because he's going to be 33, a leader, yes, but he's not the guy that you should rely on for 38 games in the league. He should be the leader in the dressing room, comes here and there every now and then, 33 years old, coming to a new club. I don't think he should be the box office signing for Arsenal Football Club this summer. He shouldn't be. Otherwise, you're going back. You're again signing someone at the end of their career, trying to compete. That shouldn't be the way you go. It's my opinion, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he would, sentimental wise, would he want to do that? You know, he spent all his time at Man City, winning all these things. It's not like a Jesus or Zinchenko where they're young enough to try and compete with Man City and prove that they're good enough. Like he's at the end of the road. Like towards the end of the road anyway. Is that I'm not saying he is or isn't. I don't know Gundogan personally. I'm just wondering.
Do you not?
If that's the kind of move that he'd want to do. You know.
No. I think it is, and this is a conversation I was sort of having with people, and like you know, semi about Arsenal's capitulation, and Man City's dominance. If you look at Spurs, what Spurs did in 16-17 season, man for man, they didn't have the best team, but as a starting 11, they had the best cohesion, and when you look at their bench, there wasn't anything able to come off the bench and change it up. You couldn't really rotate the squad very much. Arsenal in that similar situation. And like if like Thomas Partey is injured, you know, luckily, we've got Jorginho now right now. But if we haven't got before we had Jorginho, we'd have to be relying on someone like El Neni. But that was our starting 11. We couldn't say, oh, this week we're going to start Partey, next week we're going to start El Neni. Whereas with a Gundogan, we can have that more option as to who we're going to be starting. We don't have to just worry about our starting 11 every week. We can actually mix it up a little bit.
I think if Arsenal try and go sign a Gundogan, I think he walks into your team, into your midfield. And for me, he starts more or less every game if he's available. And then the onus is on Arsenal. That signing for me, it has to work next season. It's not a signing like, in 2 years' time, Gundogan's going to help the team win the league. That signing someone like Gundogan is, for me, United signing RVP, where it's like, we need you to be the needle. You need to move the needle for next season. So if Arsenal sign him, they've got to look at Gundogan and be like, that's why we didn't win the league. If we have him in the team, we win the league. And I'm not sure if he does that to this Arsenal team, because for how good they are, I still think structurally, as KJ said, it can't be the main signing. Oh, sorry, as Mo said, they don't have a strong enough spine for me. And I think that's going to come in and become that spine. I'm not too sure. So, and it's an interesting one. I think if you were, me personally, if you had run City really, really close, and I'm talking about 1 or 2 points off, and you took it to the last day of the season, signing Gundogan would have been like, yeah, that can potentially move the needle. For me, there's so many areas when you look at this run where you faltered off. People are looking at the defense, Arsenal fans themselves. At fullback, there's some issues. In midfield, do you know what I mean? Partey, for the majority of the season, was being held as one of the best DMs. I'm hearing a lot of Arsenal fans saying they want him out now. They want him gone. They want a replacement.
Yeah, because he's fallen off. But then that's the thing with City as well. They can have competition for places. You know, you look past Arsenal's starting 11. There isn't much that is to be desired, and it's not about like when we were talking about Trossard coming in the winter. It's like, well, he ain't going to start, is he? Who's he going to start in place of? It's like, well, no, you're missing the point. You know, he will be in the squad to then be pushing Martinelli to say, right, Martinelli, if you don't buck your ideas up, we've got a decent enough replacement here, and he can go on a run of games, and Martinelli will be able to come off the bench. At this current moment in time, we don't really have that, and especially in midfield options as well. And that's where, you know, if I would love Granit Xhaka to stay, by the way, because he's now being deployed in his true position, and he's doing it in the Euros. He was doing it. He's done it at the World Cup, and he's doing it for Arsenal this season because he's got a DM alongside him. But he is guaranteed to start every game. Why? Because there isn't anybody else there. You know, Jesus is guaranteed to start every game when he's fit. Why? Because we haven't got anyone else there. You know, Man City have got a number of positions where not everybody is guaranteed to start. I mean, like when Laporte was injured, it was like, oh, what's going to happen now? Laporte can't even get a sniff. And he's an unbelievable defender. You're telling me that none of your clubs right now, you wouldn't take Laporte at your team right now?
Yo, I've got a defender that's half his size is better than him, bro.
Hey!
Less of that.
I think Gundogan would be an amazing signing for Arsenal. And I remember having this debate with a few Gooners when we signed Casemiro. And I said, look, I don't care about your rebuild like I care about Man United, but we can't go 3.5 years winning nothing. We have to, I know they won an FA Cup year one, but since then they win a while. We have to win whilst we're improving. And to do that, you can't just add kids. You need elder statesmen that have been there, done it, and worn the T-shirt. If you look at Arsenal's, according to the media today, Gundogan's a player you're fighting for. We know Declan Rice is the player they want, and there's talk of City looking at him, but Arsenal still leading that race. The other player on the Arsenal agenda, separate from these two, is Mason Mount. And again, and something Jess said to me earlier today, which she gets a lot of stick for from Gooners, but typically when the TPFs come for her, the toxic positivity fans, she ends up being right, is that most of the signings that Arsenal fans don't want Arteta to make end up being pretty good. And the ones that the fans bend over backwards for, whether they sign them or not, end up not doing particularly well. And the way I'm seeing Gooners kind of no to Mason Mount, there's a part of me that just thinks, will history repeat itself and him be
Odegaard again?
Yeah, like an Odegaard sign. He was someone that Gooners didn't want, as an example. In the summer, most Arsenal fans online pick Richarlison over Gabriel Jesus. Now, I'm not saying you don't need more than Jesus, but out of the two, one has been a resounding success comparatively to a guy that's been booked more times for taking his shirt off than he scored goals, which is crazy. But Pete, from your point of view, mate, Mason Mount, you're a Newcastle fan. You are competing with all of us now. When you see Mason Mount, Gundogan, Declan Rice going to Arsenal, how much better do you think that makes them as a team?
I'll be honest, I'm not a massive Mason Mount fan. I just not, just from what I see him play, for the money that he's commanding and for the fee that they're demanding for him. I don't see it. That's just my personal opinion. So seeing Mason Mount goes to Arsenal, like for me, I'm just like, okay, fair enough. Like I just don't see the hype that he brings. I really don't. Like I'm a massive England fan as well, and when I watch England play and he starts games, I just don't see it either. So for me, Mason Mount doesn't. If I was an Arsenal fan, it wouldn't fill me with any joy or confidence. And the fact that Chelsea are not willing to pay the money that he wants, and are quite happy to see him go, I think says a lot, really. Says a lot about the player that's meant to be Mr. Chelsea, like many others that have gone by. The fact that they're quite willing to let him go tells you a lot about his situation. I've watched him a lot this season. Watched him up close and personal when we played against him at St James's Park, and I wasn't impressed. A lot of people won't really talk about the likes of Sean Longstaff and Joe Willett, but they had him in their pocket that game. But I haven't seen him play much better since, and that was back just before the World Cup break.
We haven't seen him play at all, bruv. My man's been out of the team for a while now.
But there you go. There's a clear reason why Chelsea have been awful this season, but the fact that they've not played him and put him on the bench and not even given him an opportunity in the team says that something's not right there. Something's not right. But I personally haven't really seen the hype around Mason Mount. For a player that's commanding that sort of fee and that sort of amount of wages, has to have something that stands out about him that makes him that player. For me, I don't see what that is.
He's the counter for this. Marcus Rashford had a terrible season last year, an okay season. Now this year he's been banging. Can we say the same about Marcus Rashford? Mason Mount is the guy that when Chelsea were good, the season before this year, he was double digits in both goals and assists, and he was the catalyst of most of the attacks. He was the guy behind the forwards. If that's what people would pay the money for. He's holding himself on a higher standard than what people think. He wants the 250K. Chelsea thinking that they can get 60, 70 million. But I think it's a gamble that if a team has money, they should go for. But again, Arsenal, if they're going to put 60, 70 million pounds into Mason Mount, would you rather get Caicedo for that money? But Mason Mount to just completely say that, yeah, I don't see what is the hype about. Yeah, he had a great season at Chelsea last year, which is something that says that there is a sign, that there's a player there. Southgate likes it. There's a rounding player around. I think he's not a bad player. And in this day and age, maybe you can just put your money and gamble with that money. And you still have a lot of money. You will gamble on Madison as well.
Look, you might see it as a gamble. I don't see it as a gamble for someone like Madison, because you're getting him for, as well as reported, a hell of a lot less than what Mason Mount would cost. For me, like I say, you say, he had a good season last season. He's not a bad player. Not being funny, 200-300 grand a week, 70+ million for not a bad player. Not for me. Not for me. I think
is that something that he's commanding from Chelsea? Because is that something he's commanding from Chelsea because he's looking around and being like, well, look at what James is getting, and I've been more crucial to that team in terms of he's been injured all the time. I was a key component in us getting our Champions League run. I was last season as well, as Mo said. He's looking around and everyone's getting these ridiculous wages. He might not command that from Arsenal. He obviously he doesn't dictate how much he goes for, right? But in terms of wages, he might not necessarily want that to go to an Arsenal. It was rumoured with Liverpool at the time. So that's for me where the difference is. You're looking, he's homegrown, and on top of that, he's still someone that in the right system, he's proven that he can do well. And in every team and under any manager that's played, he's always been a key cog in the team, whether that's for Southgate, whether that was Lampard, whether that was whatever manager was there. So for me, it's like, if you can get him in and get him playing really, really well, you have a good player there. Of course, but that's the market you've got to go and look at if you're an Arsenal. As an example, if they swapped Mount for Emil Smith-Rowe this season, is that a better option off the bench? I personally think so.
But is he going to go there on the bench though? Because he doesn't. He doesn't dislodge Odegaard. Odegaard is an outstanding quality player, and they play a similar position.
So this is what my argument was.
Arsenal and sit on the bench, because for me, with the Arsenal setup and the way they play, he doesn't start. He doesn't start. Now, if he goes to Arsenal and sits on the bench and he goes there and he wants 250 grand a week and they pay that and he sits on the bench and plays here and there, fair enough.
Pete, he trusts himself. I think Mason Mount is someone who trusts himself. He trusts himself to find for a place.
And I think with Mount as well, we're forgetting that he's someone that can play off the left. He's played in the 10. He can play in the 8 as well. So if you've got a player like that you can have in your system, and you get the best out of him, for instance, Mount at his best has been better than Xhaka at his best. And this season, Xhaka has been really good. So if you can replicate that and get the best out of Mount, which Arteta's shown he's got a really good talent ID, and you can maximize him, Mount could be a good option to go and have in the 8 as an example. Much more dynamic, much more creative than a Xhaka.
And that's fair enough. But then you've just talked about he can play off the left. Does he dislodge Martinelli? I don't believe so. I think Martinelli is a far superior player to him. You're saying about the Xhaka position, that's great, but they've been heavily linked with Declan Rice. Now, I know who I would rather in that position.
I think Declan Rice is for the 6, though. Declan Rice isn't as creative as a Mount. That's what I'm saying. The profile of players that we're talking about are completely different. If we were saying they're interested in getting a Mount or whoever or Rodri, Casemiro, they're all the same profile type of player. A Mount is more of an attacking threat, more of a creator in that regard. That's quite dynamic. So to have a Mount in there, you can compare him to someone like Erdegaard's a fair comparison. I don't think he dislodges him, but in the 8, for example, as an advanced 8, you can compare.
I don't think Mount is the one. I don't think Mount is the one who's going to change Arsenal, Pete. But again, I don't think Mount is going to change Arsenal. I don't think Mount is a superstar. He has potential.
Agreed.
A lot of players. He's 24 years old. He has potential. He's not the greatest player in the world, but I've seen one good season from him. One good season. Is he going to go for 67? He has 1 year left. I don't think Chelsea even have the power to ask for that much money.
I think they should have cashed in last season.
Yes, thank you, Gav.
If they're going to do that, 21 goal contributions. That's the time to cash in.
And 1 year left with that injury this year. I don't think they're going to ask for 60, 70. Yes, they're talking about it now. But when the crunch time comes in the summer and they have to release a player and someone like this who will go on a free next year, I think will cave. They will cave and accept lower fee.